Welcome, class, to the Intro to Java Programming. In this lesson, we will review receiving input from the keyboard with the scanner class, syntax for several common method options, and code examples. While creating an application, you may need to collect keyboard input directly from the user. There are several options in Java to choose from. The most popular option is the scanner class, which reads text from the standard input like the keyboard and returns it to the application. It should be available to you inside the Java Utils package. Just add this import to the top of your class. Import is not very confusing, and you've been using them ever since Lesson 1. The import statement allows you to refer to a class or classes declared in another package using a simple name without referring to the full package name. This gives you access to code from other Java classes inside your class. The Java Utils package comes with JDK. Inside the Utils package are many classes including Scanner. At the top of the class, add import java.utils.scanner. From this point in your class, scanner equals java.utils.scanner. This is the simple name or identifier to a full package name. If you review code from prior lessons, you will see import statements in the test classes and some of the example classes we built. One tip, avoid using the asterisk at the end of the import statement like this. Always try to indicate the specific class needed. Here are a few methods used to collect user input from the scanner class. The first method is the most common, nextLine. This will return one line of string data value from the user. Let's take a look at this in code. Go to our first program project in IntelliJ, close any open class tabs. Create a new package called Scanner. Create a new class called User Input. Here is the Java Utils Scanner import. Here is a private variable used for the scanner class. Here is the public static void main method we will use to start the program. Process user input will prompt the user for keyboard input and display the result. Inside the getNextLine method is where scanner.nextLine is called. This is the point where the user will type in their input and the result will be held inside the input variable. Let's run this and see what happens. Notice the User Input tab. Enter the data appears here. Let's click in this window to see the cursor. I will enter Coach Joe. Hit the return key. The display is here. Input was Coach Joe. Let's use another scanner method called next. This will get the next string value. I'll add a new method after process user input. Change this line from nextLine to next. Watch what happens when we run the program. Let's enter Coach Joe again. Press the return key. Notice only Coach is displayed. What happened to the rest of the input text? Take a look at this visual to see what happened. This box represents the user input. We entered Coach Joe. There is a space between each word, and this backslash and letter N represent the return key. The next method is looking for the next string word. Once it encounters a space character, it returns this word. Coach is displayed. Space, Joe, and the return key are left inside the scanner buffer waiting to be processed. To prove this, let's go back to the code. Add another line to call the getNext method. Run the program again. Let's enter Coach Joe and hit enter. Notice Coach was displayed on the first line, Joe was displayed on the second line. Caution must be used when getting the next value instead of the next line. Unexpected results can happen or data is missed. The same is true for nextInt. I will add this new method after process input user. Comment out this line, it's a duplicate. Let's change this line from next to nextInt. Notice the scanner returns an int, not a string. Watch what happens when we run the program. We'll enter 1, 2, 3. The display is 123. Run the program again. This time enter 123 space 456. Only 123 is displayed. This was the nextInt value. The space and 456 were left inside the buffer. There are a few options to fix this issue. The design approach should be considered when using these commands. For example, you could only accept the first value and ignore the rest of the line. You could use the nextLine method instead and parse the entire result yourself, or loop through the buffer and look for more data. Consider the first two options, as looping through the buffer can be problematic. Let's go back to the code. Add this line to only accept the first int value and clear out the remaining data on the line. This option is best when you only need one value. Just accept the first value and ignore the rest. There are times when you expect one or many values. This solution uses the nextLine method and splits the result into a string array separated by spaces. Inside the process user input method, make these changes to create a string array variable to hold the result. To prove all the values are found, loop through the array and display each item. Let's run the application. Enter Coach Joe, and the result shows Coach on one line and Joe on the next. Time for a Coach Joe challenge question. What will happen if Coach Joe is entered for scanner.nextInt? Correct. A string value cannot be stored inside an int variable. This will generate an exception error. Let's change this method to call getNextInt. Now run the application. Enter Coach Joe. Notice an exception occurs. Input mismatch exception. One option to prevent this error is to test the buffer input before returning the value. With this method, a while loop will check to see if scanner.hasNextInt method is not true. If the next value is not an int, the buffer is cleared and a message is displayed to the user, please enter a valid int. Only a valid int value will exit the loop, and that value is returned for display. Inside the process user input, change the method to call getValidNextInt. Let's run the application to test it out. Let's enter in Coach Joe. A message to please enter a valid int appears. Now enter 123. The input was accepted and the program ends. In an upcoming lesson, we will talk about the try, catch, and finally blocks as another option to prevent this exception error. Here's a summary of all the code we wrote for this lesson. You should now have an understanding of the scanner class used to get keyboard input from the user along with the import statement. The scanner class can collect and verify a variety of data types from the user, which were seen in the code examples. Your optional homework assignment is to create additional methods to collect input using other data types like double, long, and Boolean. In the next lesson, we'll discuss random numbers. Remember, future senior developers, make it work, prove it works, then make it better. Ready, break!